So the next kind of line that I want us to look at is the polyline. There it is. I'm going to click to activate it. And just like the line, you can click to start placing. So you specify the first point, and now you can proceed and specify the second point, as you can see. So if you look at the command line, you have the option of specifying the next point, or else you can define an arc, and of course there are other commands that you have there. So let us proceed and specify the next point. Of course, you specify this graphically like that. So that is the polyline, and once you are done, you can now proceed and close. There is the option of closing, but in this case I'm going to place the enter key to finish up with the placement. So there is the polyline. Now the polyline is just like a line. The output, or the what we can see here, we can still achieve this with the line. So let me proceed and use the line to add the same thing. Then I press enter. So you can note that we can achieve the same thing using the line. So now the first line that I have added at this point is added by polyline, and this one is added by a line. If you proceed and select this particular line, you can note that it is selecting a simple segment, or it is selecting this segment only. But of course, you can click to add the other segment to the selection. So you select them separately like that. But of course, with the polyline, once you click at one of the segments to select it, you can note that all the segments are going to be selected at once. Now, something else that we should note is that for the line at the center here, at the middle of this particular segment, we can note that we have a square kind of a node. Yeah, and then towards the end, we have the nodes as well. Now, these are nodes, and they do help with graphical modification. We are going to look at this. So if you look at these nodes that will appear after you select an object, you note that they are there to help you with graphical modifications. We're going to look at that. So for a line, we have this kind of nodes. Now, if you select a particular polyline, we can note that for the polyline, yes, at the end, the nodes are similar to the line, but of course at the center, the node is quite different. So we are going to look at these particular nodes as we proceed with the modification. So all the segments have a node, this kind of a node at the center, like that. So that is one of the differences between the line and the polyline. We are concerned with the polyline, so let us proceed and look at other features of a polyline. So if you click to start placing a polyline, you note that you can specify the next point, as you can see here, or else you can decide to add an arc. So that is one of the options, or one of the features that we have for a polyline. So it does not only add straight lines, it also adds arc. So I can proceed and click at the arc here, and once you click on that, you note that within the command we still have extra options, and some of these options are actually the options of adding an arc. So how should the arc be added? So you can either use the angle, you can use the center option, you can use the direction option. So these are the three options that we have. If, for example, I click at the center, I can click at this point and then define the arc using the next point, like that. I can now proceed and add another arc like that. So that is something that we should note. Now, so that is using the center, and of course we have other options of adding an arc. So most of these options are actually the options that we have when you are adding an arc. So for example, the center, it could be the start, center, and end. So this particular option, the one is the options that we have here, CE. Again, you can note that these particular commands, all of these particular command do have the first letter or the first letters. For example, this has two letters defined with a blue color. It means that those are the letters that you need to type if you want to use a command, and then you press enter. Now you can see that you have added the first segment as an arc, the second segment as an arc as well. You may want to proceed and have a line, so you can just type in L on your keyboard and then press enter. In this case, it's going to add a line, as you can see, and you are going to be taken to the previous commands, and you can now proceed and add another arc. Now the first option, the second option, the fourth option here within the command line, they are actually actually the options, the drawing option, or the options we have for defining the arc. Of course, there are other options that we have, for example, the radius. So this also is an option of how the arc is going to be defined. You can still use the radius. And of course, there are others. For example, you can define using the second point. You can undo. So this option, that is the second point, the radius, direction, the center, the angle, they're actually the various options that you have to define an arc. So for example, the second point, you define an arc using the second point, as you can see. Yeah. For the radius, you define an arc using the radius. So you define it like that. You can see that there are various options of creating this particular arc. If you want to revert it back to the line, you click at the line at this particular point. Now you can note that we have the option to cross. You may want to cross it. In this case, you just need to type in the CL to cross it. The half width, the width, we are going to see them in the previous command. So let me just click at the line, and we have the previous command, and we have the half width and also the width at this point. Let me just proceed and press enter like that. So that is how you can add an arc, or you can place an arc, or you can define a segment of a polyline to be an arc. Now let me click at the polyline once again, and in this case you click to define the first point, and we've said that you can add an arc if you want, but of course by default it is a straight line. Now there's usually the option of adding what you call a half width, and then you have the option of adding a width. So let's start with the half width. I'm going to click at it, and then you need to, when you choose the half width, you need to specify the starting half width. In this case, let's say I want it to start off by 5,000. Of course, that is 5,000 millimeters. I press enter, and then I want it to end with 1,000, and then I press enter. With this one, you can note that there will be a width to this particular line. Yes, it is a line, but it is going to have a width, as you can see. So this width here is 500, and this width is actually 1,000. You may want to create such kind of a polyline with a width. So there's the width. Other than just a line, it is actually it has a width in itself. So that is the half width that we've come across. So you define the width actually at this point, that is a starting point, and then you define the width at the end point. So that is how you define it, and then it is going to have a fill. Of course, the fill is actually the color of this particular. From the properties, the color of the polyline is actually the one that fills it. So that is it. The next thing that I want us to look at when we are dealing with the polyline, click to define the first point. Now the half width is going to be there. So to do away with it, you just need to proceed back and click at the half width, and then specifying the start half width, you have 0, type in 0 and press enter, and then the ending half width should be 0 as well. So type in 0 and press enter. Now the next thing that I want us to look at is the length. You can specify a length. Now this one, you can specify the length using the dynamic input. We have come across that, but of course we have seen that within the command line we have the same option where you can type in the length of the line. So probably want it to be 10,000. Type in 10,000 there. actually the same thing. And then you have the option of defining the width. Let me press enter this one and click at the polyline once again. Click to start placing. We have the option of defining the width. Now we've come across the half width. Another term that we are finding is the width, so you can just type in W or else click at this point. So let's just type in W and then we press enter. To specify the starting width, so probably this one should be 1 meter or 1000 millimeters, and then the ending width, so this one should be about 4000 millimeters. Press enter. There it is, very similar to the half width, like that. And we can try to view these particular lines in 3D. Okay, we can view them in an isometric view or a 3D view. You can note that they look like that. And once you view them in an isometric view, they are just going to be lines. As you can see, they look like that. But of course, it is treated as if it is a single line. It is not treated as if there are several lines, especially when you view them in an isometric view. They are treated as if it is a single line with a width. So that is the polyline.